is up, everybody, to the nations worldwide? This is the Travel Couple Podcast, where we introduce you to couple travelers who offer their advice on how you can travel the world together while earning money and living that digital nomad lifestyle. We are your hosts, Mike Pletz and
Natalie.
Tune in every Wednesday as we interview couples living a digital nomad lifestyle, traveling the world while earning an income. Get relationship advice about being on the road with your significant other. Listen how others are struggling and thriving in their personal and business lives while traveling the world. This is your one-stop podcast for travel, relationship, and business goals. We are continuing to talk about the world of travel blogging, so be sure to check out our travel blogging tutorial in our podcast or go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/tothenationsworldwide and give us a like. In today's episode, we talk with travel bloggers from the States, Colette and Scott of Roamaroo. You can catch them at roamaroo.com. That's ROAMAROO.com. They discuss with us today about their trip to the Sea of Cortez, how travel has affected their relationship, and how you can do keyword research and also improve your Instagram game. So without further ado, here's our interview with Colette and Scott. Today we are joined by Colette and Scott of Roamaroo. In 2015, they said enough was enough and decided to quit their jobs, rent out their house, sell their cars, and travel the world full time. You can find them traveling the world at Roamaroo.com. That's spelled ROAMAROO.com. Hello, Colette and Scott, and thank you for being on the show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, just to get started, guys, why don't you just take a moment here to tell us and our listeners a little bit about yourselves and what you guys do.
We are Colette and Scott, and we are travel bloggers, social media influencers, and content creators, and we run the travel website Roamaroo. And in 2015, we quit our corporate jobs, we sold our cars, we rented out our house, and we set out for the most epic adventure yet and went on an around-the-world trip.
Awesome. So, did the blog come after you guys decided to travel, or was it kind of at the same time you guys said, you know what, if we're going to travel, we're just going to start a blog?
It was basically the latter.
Okay.
When we started traveling, we said, you know what, let's at least document our travels. And actually now looking back, there was about a few weeks ago, I was looking through an old hard drive of photos and videos from before all of this started. And I realized that actually both Colette and I, we were doing this before it was, I guess, cool and popular.
Mm-hmm.
We were always, Colette would, no matter what trip we would do, she would always put together a nice little montage video of all of our travels. And, I was always taking pictures and I have hard drives of photos. And so basically it was a very easy transition to just take something that we love to do already and then just create the website and share it, with people who also have the same interests.
Yeah, perfect. So going into you two, how did you two meet?
We met in probably the most famous bar in the world. That's Las Vegas. So you can hear what happens in Las Vegas. But yeah, we were both on vacation and we met there. So I guess that's kind of an indicator of our relationship because frequent flyer miles started from the beginning. Scott was living in Chicago and I was living in Los Angeles. So we met in Vegas and then we started to do long distance right after that.
Oh, nice. Very good. And then where did you guys get married? How long have you been married?
We've been married 3.5 years.
Wow.
4.5 years.
4.5?
4.5 years. We got married in Palos Verdes in California at probably one of the most beautiful and blissful resorts in the world, really, but specifically Los Angeles. It's called Terranea, and so if you ever get a chance to, if you live in the area, take a weekend out there. If you don't live in the area and you're trying to get out of the winter cold, it's a great spot. It actually seems like you're going to a different country when you're out there on the peninsula.
Very nice. Awesome. So getting into this first part here, we're just going to talk about travel a bit. So I'm going to ask you a very simple two-word question, but it has such a complicated answer for many. Why travel?
Why not? I think mainly because we need to open up our eyes. We need to learn about the world. And I think travel is the biggest education you could ever receive. And we're students of the world, and we love to learn, and we never want to stop learning.
Very true. Very good. Yeah, I mean, travel opens your eyes, and it's really a learning experience the whole time you're traveling. I couldn't agree more. So, where were you guys last? Where are you now? And where are you traveling to next?
Last, we were in the Sea of Cortez on the Baja Peninsula of Mexico. We were with a company called Offshore Outposts and had probably one of the most amazing trips. It was definitely one of the top trips that we've ever been on.
Oh, nice. What did you do there with Offshore Outposts?
I mean, it was adventure and simplicity. So, I mean, basically, we didn't realize that there's crystal clear water in the Pacific, in the Sea of Cortez. And it's basically like you're in the Caribbean. The water's crystal clear, beautiful, really no waves at all. It's very smooth when we were there. We were snorkeling, we were, deep sea fishing, we were spear fishing, we were jumping off the top of the boat.
We swam with whale sharks.
So every day we were hiking. Every day was a new adventure, and it was such a small boat that basically whatever you wanted to do, they had stuff set up, but if you wanted to just relax and have a drink in the hot tub on top of the boat, you could do that. Or if you wanted to go on a hike on this, private island, you could do that as well.
Awesome. And then how long were you guys there for?
We were there for a week, and I would say, mark our words, the Sea of Cortez is the next big hotspot, because when we were there, there was no one there. The only other people we saw were sailors. So you fly into populated Cabo, but if you drive an hour and a half to La Paz and get on a boat from there, I mean, it's complete serenity.
And so now we're in a home. Home is Hermosa Beach, California. It's just outside of LA.
Okay.
And then our next stop is to Florida. What did I say? Yeah. So Florida to West Palm and Orlando.
Gotcha. So right now you guys are kind of taking a little bit of a breather before you get back out on the road?
Yeah, a little bit. We when we're home, we have to churn out our content. So that's a lot of editing photos, writing our content, and then also pitching future projects.
Gotcha. Awesome. So when you guys are out on the road, are you guys do you guys have enough scheduled posts that you kind of have that buffer to enjoy yourselves when you're out on the road, or do you try to also churn out content while you're on the road?
We're always churning out content at home or on the road. Generally we'll have if sometimes we're actually live posting, but that tends to be difficult. To get the content edited and get it posted at the same time or same day is difficult, but generally there's a somewhat of a delay. If it's, as short as a day or two, sometimes we're, flashing back to older trips. But, now we have hard drives of photos and stuff that if we need to, build up content and kind of prep, if we know that we're going to be out of service or traveling for a long period of time, we can create some content ahead of time.
Gotcha. So traveling together, what is your most rewarding experience that you guys have had together?
I think, we actually worked for a company creating a pro bono video in India, and it was for a girls' school, and it was a little rural area. I mean, we were outside of the major cities, but to experience it and to see, it helped us appreciate how wonderful, our lives have been and how blessed we are. Right. Sometimes seeing some people who just aren't as fortunate, but being able to help them was definitely life-changing.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. That's a great experience. How long were you guys there for when you did that?
We were in India for about a week, and we went up, about 3 hours north of Kunda, and we were able to visit this girls' school. And, women don't have the same rights as they do in the States, I should say in India as they do in the States. And
Right.
so, I mean, I think it was a really positive experience to try to raise funds for this girls' school that we can educate women around the world. And so I think that was probably the most gratifying travel experience we've ever had.
Nice. Awesome. So getting into something a bit more fun, what was your most awkward, embarrassing, or even a hilarious travel experience together?
We've had, I'll say this, anyone who travels a decent amount, you're going to have some belly issues.
Right.
And, I'll kind of remove some of the details, but yeah, we've had our fair share of upset tummies and belly issues. What were some of the other amazing ones we've had? Oh, just recently we had, we were in Fiji and we were getting ready to go to bed, and I was actually just messing around on the bed. I had our selfie stick and I was just banging on the bed, just goofing off.
Mm-hmm.
Colette's laying in the bed. So you have to understand this for the point of the story. Colette is laying in the bed. I'm on the other side, just kind of messing around. And as I hit the bed, all of a sudden, a gigantic spider jumps on top of my pillow.
Oh.
Colette is laying down, so it is next to her head. When I say this thing is the size of my hand, I am not. This thing was, and I think we learned later it was a huntsman spider.
Okay.
Which are harmless, but I'll tell you what, being an American, and we're not used to seeing spiders of that size, we freaked out. And so,
yeah.
And so we, Colette jumps up, I jump up, and then we're realizing, crap, we don't know where it went.
And there's no way that we can go to sleep if we don't know.
No kidding.
So the next 30 to 45 minutes, we were
hunting the huntsman.
Nice. Did you guys find it?
We did find it, and we actually, put some pictures on our Instagram story. And
okay.
It was probably one of our most engaged little posts, hearing people just freak out after seeing the size of that spider.
No kidding. Oh.
But don't shy away from Fiji. That was like the only insect that actually we saw that was, besides all the mosquitoes. But that's it.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that's a great story actually. I've seen pictures of them before. They're massive. I couldn't imagine running into one.
Yeah, let alone on your pillow.
No kidding. And then not being able to find it and trying to get some shut eye. Oof.
Well, we found him. Fortunately,
that's good. Yeah,
we
for sure.
weren't going to sleep until we found him.
Yeah. So finally, what was your worst travel experience together? I mean, seeing a spider on your pillow that size, that's up there. But do you have another one?
Yeah, I would say we were in Cambodia and we were on a cruise down the Mekong River, which was fantastic. But we were kind of isolated while we were on the cruise. And so when we got into a big city of Phnom Penh, we decided to go on land and just do some laundry, and we kind of let our guard down. And usually if we take our phones out, one of us will watch, or we'll go into a hidden area. Mm-hmm. But we let our guards down after being on a boat for a while, and we were on the sidewalk. A moped drove onto the sidewalk, grabbed my phone out of my hands, and drove away.
Oh, wow.
And I tried to chase him. I was a sprinter in college, so I thought I can get him. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get him, even though we really tried hard. So that was kind of it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But at the time when you're so far away from home, it just kind of made us feel a little more out of control.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so getting into talking about relationships when we're on the road, how has traveling affected your relationship together?
I mean, the way that's affected is, spending a large amount of time with anyone is you're going to learn how to communicate better. You're going to learn each other's personalities, almost as well as you know yourself. And so I think that, traveling, we've just become closer as a couple.
Yeah, I think the surest way to find out if your relationship is going to work or not, go travel together. That will tell you for sure.
Right. We hear that so much too, and it's so true. You're going to find out really quickly if you're compatible or not. If you're on the road, and just experiencing the things that you experience when you're on the road really tells you how compatible the two of you are.
Exactly.
So then when planning a trip, who takes care of what?
I book everything. I do all the planning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, let me tell you. So I always share this. This is before I hate to stereotype, but generally, most people might assume that like girls would want to search or for shoes or purses. I would come up behind Colette when she'd be at home, and I would see like all the tabs on an internet browser open, and it filled up the brim where you couldn't even squeeze in another tab.
Yeah.
And I had to ask her, what are you looking at? And every single tab was either a hotel, a flight, a resort, some destination. And so she has always had an absolute love for travel, and she does 90% of the booking and planning of all of our travel.
Gotcha. Nice. Awesome. And then what is the best destination that you two would suggest for couples?
Well, that really depends on the couple. But I mean, I would say we went on our honeymoon to the Amalfi Coast, and I think hands down that's the most romantic place in the world. But if you have maybe a little more of an adventurous couple, then I would recommend New Zealand or Iceland.
Okay. So then the Amalfi Coast, what did you guys get up to when you were there?
Lots of eating. That was my main hobby.
Rented a boat, took it out to Capri for the day from Positano.
Oh, nice.
Rented a car and drove around up to Ravello.
Oh yeah, we rented a vintage Alfa Romeo and drove that around, which was really fun.
Awesome. Very nice. And then, sorry, what was the other one you suggested there? Iceland and
New Zealand. So, a couple, if someone wants to be a little bit more rugged and outgoing.
Right.
Those are two amazing spots as well.
Now, that's two places that are definitely at the top of our bucket list. Tell us a little bit about Iceland.
I mean, Iceland, as you know, has just had tremendous success with their PR. I think over the past 3 or 4 years, the tourism industry has just exploded. And a lot of that is to influencers and Instagrammers going out there and creating such amazing and breathtaking content. Iceland is, you could go there and do it the typical travel way and see it in 3 or 4 days, or you could spend 2 weeks, taking your time to go around the entire country. So it's really got all these amazing history, amazing sights. It's just, I feel like every time you turn, you look, and it just looks like a picture that would be on a postcard.
Yes, definitely. It looks so amazing. I mean, did you guys go walking on glaciers and everything like that when you were there?
We did. We walked on a glacier. We visited a glacier lagoon. We went to a geyser. There's so many outdoor activities that you can do there. It's really fantastic. And we went in June, so it was 24 hours of sunlight, which was a little trippy, and we were camping. Yeah, so when we camp and we'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I thought, okay, it's 8 a.m., we should get up. Oh, wait, no, it's 2 a.m. We should definitely keep sleeping. Yeah. But we want to go back for the Northern Lights. That's definitely on our bucket list.
Right, definitely, for sure. And then you said New Zealand, too, which is, I see Iceland and New Zealand in the same category when you go traveling. That sort of adventure, rugged destination. What did you guys get up to when you were in New Zealand?
So I would say if you had to choose between the two of them, I think New Zealand is definitely better on the South Island. It's we did very similar trip. We rented a camper van, drove around, went to all the amazing sites. But we went to Milford Sound, went to Queensland, we went to Queenstown. I'm trying to think of the other sites we went to.
Wanaka, Lake Wanaka.
Yes.
And the wine regions are great, but I mean, the thing with New Zealand, we hiked Mount Cook. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are pulling over every 5 minutes because you just cannot believe the landscape in front of you. It's the most beautiful place on earth, hands down. I've never seen a landscape like it. Maybe Iceland could come in a close second, but I think New Zealand takes the cake.
I think for most people, budget conscious, and if they're flying from the States, or it's easier to get to Iceland and probably a little bit cheaper. But New Zealand is definitely just up there, and it is significantly better than Iceland, just from a perspective of
Sorry, Iceland.
Sorry, Iceland.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then closing out this section, do you guys have any more advice for a couple travelers out there that you'd like to share?
Yes.
Definitely. I would definitely recommend to pack protein bars because no one likes a hangry traveler. And that's usually the majority of, that and jet lag would probably set off a fight on the road.
For sure. Yeah.
I think jet lag is something that affects people a lot more than they expect. And even as ourselves as veteran travelers, it still, can really hamstring us during our travels. So one of the things we've learned is that it doesn't always affect each person at the same time. Mm-hmm. One of our earliest travels, I can remember I would wake up in the morning and be ready to go, whereas Colette was not. And then in the afternoon, things were reversed. I wanted to take a nap and she was ready to go out. And so, when you are traveling, several time zones away, those first few days, if you feel like you need to take a nap or get up a little bit later, try to do it together and agree on a bit of a schedule so that you guys can sync up together a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I haven't heard that one yet. So do you guys have any advice on how to deal with jet lag? Is there any secret remedy or any ideas out there that you guys use to get over jet lag as soon as possible?
Yeah, so there's actually a guy who wrote a book probably back in the 1940s or I don't know, a bit later than that, in like the 60s or 70s, and it had to deal with fasting, basically dealing with your hormones and then caffeine. And I won't get into all the details because it's a little complicated in some of the stuff that he does. But, the simple things are hydration. So, if you're traveling a long flight, make sure you're hydrating as much as possible. I know that sometimes you might get excited if you're flying and you're like, oh, let's have some drinks and cocktails up here. That is going to slow you down when you get on the road.
Right.
Also, the other thing is as soon as you get on that plane, try to behave as if you are in your new time zone. So if you get on the plane and you're supposed to be sleeping, in your new place, go to sleep right away. If you're, supposed to be awake, but the time zone that you're leaving is midnight, you should stay up. So there have been times where, we're getting on flights and it could be at the departure country, 3 p.m, but where we're going at 6 a.m., we'll get on and have a cup of coffee to try to reset the body because that's what we'd be doing in the morning anyways.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of tough at times when you need to be staying up or, if you're trying to go to sleep and you can't sleep, but just kind of, go through those motions as like try to force your body as good as you can.
And also with the setting like you are in that future time zone. So say you do get on the flight and it's 3 p.m., but it's 6 a.m. in your new destination. Well, while you're on the flight, you should only eat proteins and no carbohydrates because with carbohydrates, your sugar or your blood sugar level is going to spike and then it's going to crash and you're going to want to go to sleep. However, if you land in a destination and it's nighttime and you're supposed to go to sleep, eat a high carb meal. That way you do crash.
Yes, very good advice. Awesome. Sorry, what are your guys' backgrounds? What did you guys go to school for and everything?
So I'm a chemical engineer.
Okay.
Colette was communications and film.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Sorry, I just got sidetracked there. I wanted to ask that question. I didn't ask it before. So,
okay. Yeah.
So just going into our final part of this interview, I just want to dive into Roamaroo. I want to talk to you guys about it. But to start it all off, just take a minute here. Tell us how Roamaroo started. Tell us how it's evolved and where you're taking it.
So how it started, it's this elaborate, great historic name that's been passed down from our families for years. No, actually, we created it on a random Saturday. I think maybe Saturday or two before we left, and we were trying to build the website, and I said, well, we need to have an actual name of a web page before we can start to build it. And we just wrote down every single name or adjective or verb that was related to travel or wonder or trip or journey. And then we, cross-checked that with websites and Instagram names that were available. And so, very quickly you'll realize that the first name you come up with, someone's probably sitting on that website or they're using it already.
Right.
So, yeah, that's it. We kind of figured that out together, and we started growing it. And then basically at the end of our planned 7-month journey, which is what we initially thought we would, at the end of that, we would go back to our normal jobs.
Okay.
We basically said we were living as cheaply as possible. Let's see if we can turn this into a business. We had started to gain, a critical mass of following, and we wanted to see if we could leverage that. And we saw other people who were having success. And so after about 6 months after that, we were basically in the black, and we were making enough money to live. And so that was about a year from when we initially started our journey.
Mm-hmm.
And then we basically have been growing ever since.
Nice.
So
did Roamaroo start just as a travel blog, and then what has it evolved into today? Because just going through the website, I see lots of travel guides you've created. Was this always the plan? And even your shop, the Passport to Fitness, where did all these things come from?
That was definitely not the plan. However, I guess our plan was just to take a grown-up half gap year and return to real life, so to speak. But we really loved creating content. I mean, we did it to keep our friends and family updated, and then we started growing a following, and that was not expected. And we really loved sharing stories with the world. And I think that just kind of evolved from there. And I mean, we had grown our Instagram following and Facebook following, and we decided, okay, I think we're onto something, and we don't want to go back to our old lives because we've grown so much from travel, and we have nothing to lose at this point. Let's give it a try.
And I think one thing to comment as well is, specifically when you're in the world of, content creation, social media, what's popular and what people are going to latch onto is constantly changing. And we had a lot of failures. There were a lot of things that we tried, we thought might work, and then we had to shift and pivot. But the one thing we knew is that we basically just had to keep trying. And so we had a lot of no's, we had a lot of failures, but then we started to have, we hit a few home runs and had some success. And so then we started to learn, and basically we, to keep being successful is we have to keep educating ourselves and constantly, trying new things. And so that's what we're always trying to tell a story that best fits our voice, but we're also trying to stay up to date on, how information is portrayed, how stories are portrayed, if that's, through Instagram's stories or if it's some new type of editing, and then try to keep the fans entertained as well.
Right. So up to this point where you guys are at, what has been the best tool or the best resource or the best strategy to really grow your audience?
Wow, that's a good thing. There's not one little trick.
Yeah, there's no easy button.
There's really no easy button. Kind of reiterating what I just said is you kind of have to always stay up to date on what's popular. We've had a few successes. We had one success with our YouTube video that we didn't think would be successful, and that was our Sardinia video in Sardinia, Italy, and mainly because no one else was covering it. So sometimes if you can find something that people are interested about, but there's not a lot of information, that's one little way you can help differentiate yourself.
Yeah, with that, what you can do is you can go on Google AdWords and you can see what people are searching for. And we do this for blogging as well, but when it comes to video, you can use those Google AdWords to your advantage as well. So for instance, what to do in Sardinia. Say that a ton of people are looking for it, but no one's really buying ads for it, so your competition is very low. Then you can cross-reference that on YouTube and say, okay, well, how many people are making videos about Sardinia? And if not many people are making videos about that, well, you know that there's an opening in the market for you. Same goes for your blog. If a ton of people are searching for this term, but not many people are writing about it, there's your sweet spot.
So, example of a bad one would be, like New York City. There's probably hundreds or thousands of blogs or articles about what to do in New York City. But if you were to try to find some smaller cities in the States, or like Sardinia, for example, you'll be able to get some positive traffic to your site.
Or if you do choose a big city like New York, then try to do something a little more targeted. For example, maybe that's best smoothie shops in New York City, or 5 under the radar romantic spots you've never heard of in New York City. You play around with what your search terms are, and you'll be able to find things.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, guys. That was such awesome advice. I really hope my audience really takes something away from that, because yeah, keyword research, it's the first thing you really should do, and really plan your content from there. Understanding where that spot is in the market for you is so important. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, Claire, can you talk to us a little bit about Passport to Fitness? Because I think it really touches on something that's so key, and that's when do you have time to keep your body up to shape when you are traveling and you are so busy?
Well, if you have 10 minutes, then you have enough time to stay in shape. I mean, if that means doing burpees in your room, or air squats, or jumping on your bed like it's a box, I always try to utilize whatever I have in my hotel room. That could be a bathtub, that could even be your suitcase. And I detail all of that in my book, Passport to Fitness. I've combined my 2 passions, which are fitness and travel. And I give some workouts for on the road, and these are workouts that you can do anytime, anywhere. And then we also detailed, defining your fitness flavor. If you're a ski bunny, I tell you the top places to ski in the world. If you love to scuba dive, I detail those there. So it's kind of an all-encompassing look at how to stay in shape while traveling.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely link it in the show notes for our listeners. Definitely something to take a look at if you are struggling to stay in shape when you are traveling, which is a really common issue with lots of people. It is really difficult to do when you're on the road, because you are so busy and you do want to take advantage of where you are traveling, but it is so important to keep in shape. Awesome. I just want to ask you guys a little bit more about your blog. Who takes care of the writing? Who takes care of the photography? Who takes care of the video, social media? Do you guys split this up to your what you're good at, or are you guys both good at everything and you just want to share as much responsibilities as possible?
We divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So I handle the blog and social media and all of our writing. And Scott is our photographer and videographer extraordinaire. He shoots all our photos, all our video, and edits all of that as well.
Very nice. And then we talked a bit about keyword research, and which kind of transfers over to writing a blog post, but even getting the right title for your YouTube video. But what about video and photography, Scott? What can you give our listeners some sort of advice on to really make their photography pop on Instagram, or make their video editing on YouTube so much better?
So I have a short little 2-minute video we just posted on YouTube that kind of summarizes 5 tips that I would give to people. But to let's say someone's on the road and they're driving right now, they can't check it out. The few short tips I would say is pick your focus point. It's very easy to get caught up and want to highlight every single thing that you see, because we have this emotion that we've tied to wherever it may be. Let's say we're at the Eiffel Tower and we had this great experience, and we had the French baguettes, and we had the cappuccino, and we want to highlight everything in that photo. But for something that's going to pop on Instagram, you need to focus on one thing. And if that's that's the froth on the cappuccino, if that's, you as a couple kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower, but one thing needs to be in focus and highlighted, not everything. And a lot of people also tend to oversaturate their photos when they first start editing. And that's because you're in this beautiful site and you have the blue waters and the, beautiful beaches or wherever it might be, but that doesn't typically do well on Instagram, that oversaturated nature of it. So the other thing is learn about the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds is basically if you drew a box in the center of your pictures, you shouldn't have your subject in the center box. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, like the English language. However, if you put your subject outside, it adds some dynamic effect to your photos, and the eyes kind of drift to that side. But yeah, if you can or have time, take a look at our YouTube, and there's 5 quick tips to kind of change your Instagram photos.
Definitely. I'll definitely throw that in the show notes, because those are 5 great tips to really make your photography that much better, and it's so important. Now, transferring from photography now over to your guys' Instagram, because it seems like you guys have an enormous amount of followers there. How have you guys gained that following? What can you tell our listeners to do to really engage their Instagram following and get those numbers up there?
So I would, just like everything else, there's no easy button. Yep. In the end, good content will win. And so, yes, there are plenty of tools out there to try to get your name out there and get your page in front of people. But you also need to make sure you're focusing on creating good photos and telling a great story and being able to inspire your viewers to come back. And so that is something that we try to tell everyone, because we get asked that question all the time, which is, how can I grow so quickly? It's like, well, there's really no shortcut. And even as Instagram continues to change their algorithm, it makes it even harder and harder to get your posts in front of people if the content isn't great. So yeah, really focusing on your photography, focusing on your storytelling. There are ways to kind of engage with other people.
Yeah, I would recommend definitely engaging. Instagram's a community first and foremost. So reach out to your favorite blogger, reach out to your favorite Instagrammer, pick their brain, maybe ask to collaborate, ask if you can help do anything for them and learn from them. And I think most of the Instagrammers out there that we've met through Instagram have been really, really helpful, and they want to help foster these relationships and foster the community. But yes, interact with your favorite Instagrammers, interact with people that, say you're a traveling couple. Look up the hashtag travel couple and see who's posting there and start interacting with their page and building a community.
And one last tip would be, if you're trying to, get in with businesses or hotels, you can also offer, some takeovers. So you could, if there's a hotel in Costa Rica and you could say, hey, I'd like to, provide some pictures for your social media. They may not have the biggest following, but it would still get you some exposure. If you took, 3 or 4 photos and had your name at the bottom as, the photo credit, it can start to, build your audience.
For sure. Great advice, guys. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Instagram is a social media. It's social. You need to interact and engage with people. And first and foremost is releasing quality content, and that goes on any channel, YouTube, Instagram, anything, blog posts, anything you're putting out there. Quality comes first and foremost, because the algorithm's always going to change. So all those hacks that people are telling you about are eventually one day going to be taken away by the algorithm. So first and foremost, quality is key. Putting that out there, it needs to be the best.
I think since we're on the topic, I just want to get on my soapbox real quick.
Yep.
It's very frustrating for us to see other pages out there who are buying followers.
Yep.
And it is, being in the world, it's very obvious and easy to see, because one, you'll see a page jump up very quickly when their content definitely doesn't merit the following, as well as, the engagement rate is just, plummeted. And in the end, these pages, I feel they're just going to hurt themselves, because if you're buying followers, if they're fake or real or whatever's out there, what happens is then your engagement drops and these pages are never going to engage with you. And so your photos will never then get featured on any of the finding pages. So it's basically you're just going to hurt yourself, and it's going to be a hole that you're going to dig that you won't be able to get out.
And don't focus just on the number. It's easy to do that, and I completely understand. I think we were really focused on the number in the beginning. But after talking to brands and other influencers, I mean, it really comes back to content is key, and you will grow your following over time. It is not overnight, but success never is. So just keep at it. Definitely.
Consistency is definitely key. And in the short run, you're going to find getting those numbers up there to buy your audience. It looks great for the short run, but ultimately you're not going to get anywhere with it. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the wasted money with that. It just doesn't translate. So yeah, great advice, guys, about Instagram. That's awesome. What advice would you give a couple that wants to make traveling a part of their lifestyle more?
Well, I think, starting out, the easiest thing is, book those trips. Don't push it off. I'm not saying to quit your jobs and try to become influencers or full-time travelers by any means. But even if you still have your full-time job, budget a little bit more appropriately when it comes to trying to book the trips. A lot of people always say, oh, well, it's way too expensive. Yes, travel is expensive, but I think it's probably one of the most rewarding things that you can spend your money on. And so the things that aren't rewarding are a lot of the physical items that we think we need to possess. And so I think if you kind of review your life and look at, you make some small decisions, if it's deciding to go with a little bit cheaper car, if it's deciding to skip, the coffee, or deciding to not go out to eat as often, all those decisions are small ones, but they add up over time so that you can then pay yourself back, in some amazing trip. So I think it's, start booking your trips now, start early, and just squeeze in whatever you can. If you only have a long weekend, then, decide to just take a road trip. But if you can decide to take like a whole week, then plan that week with a holiday and you can go to Bali.
Yeah, don't put it off. We've heard that the stoplights of life are never all green, and there'll always be an excuse as to why you can't do it. You don't have the time, whatever that excuse might be. Just book it. Just go on the trip, because I don't think there's ever been a trip we've taken where we said we regret going. There's always something that you learn from those trips.
For sure. Yeah, awesome. Great advice, guys. Now, what is next for Roamaroo?
We are going to Florida next week. We're going to be shooting a commercial, and then we're going to be working on an exciting project with Universal Studios. Nice. And other travel this year includes a lot of domestic travel, including New Orleans, Michigan, Idaho. I said Florida already. And then we are also going to be going to Indonesia at the end of June.
Very nice. Awesome. Well, there you have it. Colette and Scott of Roamaroo sharing their travel stories with you today on the To the Nations Worldwide Couple Travel Podcast. I want to say a very special thank you to our guests. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much, Mike.
So our final takeaway from this, guys, where should people check you out, and what's the best way to reach you and see more from you guys?
So you can find us on our website, on Instagram, on YouTube, Twitter. It's all Roamaroo, and that is not spelled like the city. That is spelled like to roam around. So
that's spelled Roamaroo.
Perfect. Anything else you want to tell our audience before we say goodbye?
I don't know. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. We had a good time.
And
awesome.
If anyone ever has any questions about how to get started or anything at all, feel free to log on to our website, shoot us an email. We're always here to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Scott and Colette. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
I want to say a special thank you to all of our listeners out there, to the nations worldwide. We cannot express our appreciation enough for you taking the time out of your day to listen to this episode. You can visit us at travelcouplepodcast.com/5 for episode 5 to view the show notes for this episode, and I urge you to leave a comment on the page. We'll be sure to get back to you. Colette and Scott delivered so much value in this episode that you're going to want to check this out. If you'd be so kind, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. This helps us with our podcast and to know that you are listening each and every week. This is Mike Pletz and
Natalie,
hoping you have a wonderful adventure to the nations worldwide.